Hello everybody, welcome to LRN. Don't forget to hit that like, comment and subscribe for all future content. Today we're going to be looking at the 5 biggest takeaways from Saturday at the F1 qualifying and what I'm expecting moving forward. So let's get straight into it. In at number 5, Valtteri Bottas. What a performance from Valtteri Bottas. He is back. Very much looking like the driver we used to see in the Williams. Very much looking like someone who is absolutely relishing not having that weight of Mercedes on his shoulders. He is performing brilliantly in the Alfa Romeo and outperforming the car. Obviously, it's hard to tell where Zhou would have finished, given that he got blocked trying to do his lap. So we don't know exactly where he would have come had he had a clean run in Q2. But hey, Bottas absolutely phenomenal, putting his car up ahead of the Mercedes and all the other midfield teams. So fantastic performance from him. Let's hope he can continue that form into the rest of the season. But it's really, really good to see a really nice driver finding his feet, finding a team, finding somewhere that he's settled, and performing in the car and seemingly enjoying himself again after a couple of painful seasons, let's be honest, at Mercedes. So that is fantastic to see. So in at number 4, we have the continued struggles of Mercedes. Hamilton 6th and Russell P12. What a hard car to handle. I mean, you can see that the pace is in the car. Hamilton's shown that the pace is in the car. Russell's shown in previous races the pace is there. I think that they are a couple of fixes away from having really strong performance. You can see when they hook it up that there is real speed in that Mercedes, but my God, it looks like a really difficult car to get to grips with. And Hamilton obviously got the better of it today. He managed to wrestle that thing to a decent lap time to get it onto 6th on the grid. And it's certainly disappointing compared to the performance in practice on Friday, but it's certainly clear to see, and Russell said it himself on the radio, that he couldn't get any more out of the car. It was impossible to handle. They really need to bring some fundamental changes to that car. The porpoising was off the charts. The way they're bouncing up and down, just crazy. So hopefully they can get their heads around it, why they're having those issues, certainly more than any other team. I haven't seen any other team porpoising the way that Mercedes does. It's just hard to understand how they've gone so wrong, given their budget, the amount of people on their staff, and the amount of time they've invested into developing this car. How they've created something that is worse than most other cars on the grid when it comes to its fundamental issues. Obviously, as I say, it has got more speed than most when they can put a lap together, but certainly their struggles are continuing. It's going to be difficult for them to really challenge at the front of the grid until they fix the porpoising issues out. They do have the view of raising the ride height of the car to reduce the porpoising. The problem with that is you reduce downforce and you're going to lose time elsewhere instead. So it's not a fix. There does need to be a fundamental change, and it'll be really interesting to see if that happens or how quickly that happens, because you have to believe that Mercedes will get their head around this. So let's see how that happens moving forward. In at number 3, we have the midfield battle. It looks incredibly close. Mercedes still in there. McLaren, Haas, Aston Martin, Alpine, all of them. Williams probably the only real backmarker at this stage, especially at the Miami GP. They have done well in the races and they do have better race pace than they do qualifying. So it will be interesting to see if Albon especially can get that car moving forward. But as a whole, the midfield looks fantastically close. The racing should be really good if the Miami track allows it. It's such an unknown, being that it's the first time we've been here. Will overtaking be an issue? I think with those long straights, we could see some decent overtaking into the braking zones, but that will be seen moving into the race. But yeah, the fact that we've had so many cars qualifying in such a small margin of error. One little mistake. Ricardo, as an example, he was on for getting into the knockouts in Q3, and then he just made a mistake on the final corner. That was it for him. He was in 14th. The difference between 10th and 14th was a little error on the final corner. That's how close the midfield battle is, and I think that sets up for a fantastic race as long as the track allows it. We need more tracks that allow overtaking, allow the drivers to get into those positions, and hopefully Miami can do that. So let's see how things go into the race, but it looks very exciting. So in at number 2, we have the performance of the Ferraris and the continued dominance of them, especially in qualifying trim. But it does appear that the changes they've made to their rear wing to combat the speed of the Red Bulls in a straight line down the big straights they've had in the previous couple of races is paying dividends. So hopefully we'll see that in the race. Hopefully we'll see that if Verstappen can, for example, get past the Ferraris, that they can fight back on the straights and actually make some overtakes back onto Verstappen. But if not, you do feel that if reliability pays in Red Bull's favour and they can get in front, that they may still get that win. But hopefully those changes that Ferrari have made can at least keep them competitive. All we want to see is close racing. Whoever wins, I want to see them racing to the end of the race, fighting for the victory. I don't want to get one person out in front with a 5-second gap who can just procession to the finish line. So hopefully those changes that Ferrari have made, and it does appear that they've worked, can get them fighting to the end with the Red Bulls and hopefully with each other. You know, Sainz has been crashed out the last couple of races. Hopefully Sainz is there too, fighting Leclerc for the race win, and it doesn't become a team order scenario either. It's still early in the season. We want to see teammates fighting. When it gets to the later stages and championships are really on the line, then yes, you can completely understand team orders. But at this stage, Sainz needing to get back more points, helping Ferrari in the constructors, but also for his own drivers' championships aspirations. Let's hope the team allow them to fight at least for the majority of the race, and that he can then go for his maiden win of the season. Now that he does have the speed, but can he get to the end? This track is absolutely pulling the red flags out left, right and centre. I can't believe we didn't have one during qualifying. Let's just hope that it isn't Sainz this time. Leave that to Latifi. And hopefully Sainz can get to the end of this race and fight Leclerc and Verstappen for that race win. And maybe Perez, if he can fight, but you do get the impression that if it comes down to the Red Bulls, there will be team orders. Perez will not be allowed, unless something happens to Max, to fight him for the race win. So let's hope Ferrari different. Let's hope that we can see Sainz and Leclerc fighting for that race win. And finally, in at number 1, we have the track itself. Miami, the new track, the layout. How's it been? And the answer is, I don't think it's suited to these cars, and that could make for some fantastic racing. But you've heard it. Hamilton himself commented on the track. Other than the chicane, he's enjoying it, and I think the chicane is definitely the hardest part, or the bit that is absolutely not suited to these new cars. They are not as agile as the previous generation. They don't have that slow corner mobility. I mean, Formula 1 cars generally never have, but these cars especially, they just seem so cumbersome when you're trying to get them around a slow corner versus the high-speed corners where they do seem really planted and really fast. That chicane is just painful to watch, and I do think they'll change that. I think that'll be redesigned because of how difficult it is. Obviously, we've seen a few red flags just leading up to the chicane, and I don't mind that. I think that's up to the drivers to learn how to take the corner. I think it adds a bit of jeopardy to the race, and we all want that. But the chicane itself, I think, will be redesigned. I think most drivers are unanimous that they don't really like it, and it doesn't suit the cars. So it'd be interesting to see how that changes. But for this weekend, let's see the impact that it has. It's a fast circuit. The rest of the track is still tricky, and it's certainly going to be down to the skill of the drivers, and definitely don't push the limits too far, because if you do, you're probably not going to get to the end. So it'll be interesting to see how far drivers push it to move forward in the grid, or whether they expect people to have accidents and they kind of bide their time to get to the front as the race goes on and play the patient game. But certainly the track's interesting, the race is going to be interesting, and I would expect changes to the layout possibly over the next couple of years as they sort of fine tune how this track works in the future. But looking like a good race ahead, looking exciting. Let's hope for not another Snorefest. It's been a really good season so far. The races have been really strong, and let's hope this isn't any different. So enjoy the race. I'll be back again soon with more content. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all again soon. Thank you.